And what's up, Big Booty Delicious here. Back at it again for the last time for this thing. So, yeah. I don't remember where I left off. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day. Let's go. It was another scorching summer day. The kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on. So that afternoon, it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked at you for all the answers. It made you feel maybe frustrated. I hate this kid. He was always wanting to hear what you thought instead of giving his own opinion and expecting you to come up with the plans. It was hard work, especially for such a hot day. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy and cold and refreshing. Something sweet, something like a poopsicle, an ice cream cone, a Yuck. You craved some soft ice cream sandwiched between two cookies. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanding payment in exchange for their products. You voiced your predicament out loud, or you decide, because you can't really do much. You're a kid. You don't have money. As much as you wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want an ice cream sandwich. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. That sounds good. We don't have any here, and I don't have money. Let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged through his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced to Shiloh he had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he had been waiting you expectantly. That's not enough. Sorry, boy. We'll need to find some more moolah. Go to his dad. Go to what's his name? Cove's dad. The two of you lifted couch cushions, struck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of the drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs, but every so often, one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Your mind wandered to the $20 bill tucked away in your room. It was enough for you and Shiloh to get whatever you wanted and more, but you didn't take it out. It was too special to hand over it so freely. Besides, Shiloh would be curious about where it came from and might even mention your wealth to Lizzie. The exchange had been a secret. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, but two of you finished pulling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as he counted the coins once again. $2, 53 cents, and 2 buttons. You're a broke boy. You didn't know if a second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? Nope. You figured you knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled out any other feelings you might had about it. What? That's not enough. You can now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. So you're just gonna buy one thing for one person. The two of you dashed outside, the promise of sugar buoyed you on your own destination where, Breathless but unhappy. Happy. You stared at the overwhelming numbers of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shiloh asked, as though he had entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone who had a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head out to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and you want what you originally wanted the boy. You tried to get something for both of you. Tried that. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd been the main contributing factor in making the decision. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them. They're so good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? It's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Oh, it's me, yeah. But that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally, and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You bit the ice cream sandwich. The chewy chocolate biscuit complemented the ice cream complemented the vanilla ice cream inside. Ugh. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head. You can finish it. He didn't want any? After everything we did to get it, that was weird. You tried to include him. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you'd ever seen, every story you've seen on TV or read in a book, said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously towards your finger. It's only fair that you have some. You both bought it. Oh, you held it out to him. I want you to have some even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up. It's really good, thank you. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Shiloh was always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say no. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why did he speak up for himself? Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was too afraid to. You figured that it was his problem, and you don't care. Shiloh was the only person who acted that way around you, so it was him rather than something wrong with you. You could ask him about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion or something, like what treat to get, then he wasn't going to open up about this. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had also been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. So incredulous about this treat. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, I'm gonna cue it because she's my sister and she's kind of a brat. I'm gonna ask what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were gonna be able to find out was asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? I got yelled at. He took a deep breath, steadily breathing. Some grandparents got mad at me. Ah, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of the nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, that the same mean old couple rented out the condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everybody. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to children. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. Uh-huh, I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I could do? No, I'm just gonna stay away. Or I could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? She should ding-dong ditch them. Oh, ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It would be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again. You're saying that because you got click-cluck... Click-cluck... What? Cove glared, but he didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned you over. You're not a chicken, are you? What? I thought they deserved better. I'll do it. I'll do it. I wonder what happens if I do it. Really? You took a deep breath and nodded. Lizzie squealed with delight. We'll go hide. Run as soon as you hit the ball, Bill. Damn it. Good luck. Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they settled down, you can make out two children-sized shapes staring from behind the leaves. You knew where to look for them, though, and so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, his gaze flickering to the house and then back to you. Don't get caught. It will be okay. He went to join Lizzie and Shiloh in the hideaway. The weight of the 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything you've carried before as you approached the door. You hesitated as you reached the doorbell. Then, you rung it. You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Would you make it in time? Approaching the hiding spot, you knew that there wasn't time to go around the bushes on the other side. You took a shortcut, leaping over them. Or to be accurate, crashing into the tops of the bushes and then falling over the other side. Judging from the squeak, it was Shiloh who cushioned your fall. Shh. Lizzie put her finger on her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled your lips from Shiloh's and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peered back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hand, but it wasn't enough to stifle your giggles. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping, but he locked eyes with the bush and stormed over in your direction. Shiloh gasped and looked to Lizzie. Run! Your sister did not hesitate to take her advice. Neither did you or Shiloh. Cove, who was just one fully operable hand, took a little longer to get his feet, but still caught up to Shiloh with ease. The old man's hollers propelled you, all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once were you safe did you notice the stitch on your chest and the aches in your legs. You flopped down the blades of grass, tickling your face. Shiloh, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The 4 of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cold grass against your skin. Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided that this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle against you, Shiloh, once Lizzie came around. It always went that way. It was fine, you thought. You still felt a little sad about how much time you spent. Uh, but you weren't going to make a fuss, especially after everything that already happened. You closed your eyes, lay to your side, and relaxed. Some time passed with you like that. It felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a little smile and looked at the darkened sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would have been as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw cloud shapes. You nudged Cove and pointed at the sky. What does that look like? Cove looked up at the sky, angling his head back to the side. Finally, he shook his head. I don't see anything. Really? Really? What do you see? Clouds. He chuckled at that. All the sun's light faded from the sky, and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strains of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would have never said no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. He wanted to go there, was tired of arguing. Was tired of arguing. It had been a long, hot day. You weren't bothered about going there, but you would rather do that than make a scene. You stepped onto the shore for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sun castles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the other indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. It'd be bad for the fish. I didn't say anyone would do it. Geez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked about what happened. That is what would happen. It would hurt the fish. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy says to have bubbles in her baths. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, what's your mom coming to pick you up? Wait, when's your mom gonna pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? Wait, how come you never talked about him? Nobody does. Do you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something he never talked about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset with this topic when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Gulch. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have the one. She's really great. The loser. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me. I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. You joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with the daddy. What if I am just an asshole to him? You didn't have anything comforting to say to that, so you tried to lighten the mood instead. Like, say the worst thing possible. Hey, since you both only have one parent, Cove's dad could marry Shiloh's mom. Then you two would be brothers. Cove stopped abruptly. His face set hard. My dad isn't going to do that. Shiloh tugged at his rim of the hat. Neither is my mom. She doesn't want to marry anybody. I told you this wasn't a good thing to talk about. It seemed your plan backfired and the mood soured even more. You didn't know what to do. My silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You talliated. You used your foot to smack the water pulling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. You laughed as she sputtered. Some of the salty seawater landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking in the turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were slightly forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Ah! Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him facing first into the ground. This would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming to the rain. As you would hurry over to check on him, his hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. And there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you dumbo. You offered him screw him. Shiloh seemed to be fine. Babying him might make him feel worse. But Lizzie didn't have the same idea and held her hand out to Shiloh. He reached over and took it. Slowly he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled them over. Ah, sorry. What were the odds that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. There was no way Shiloh would have done something like that on purpose, then pretended it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her. Your relationship with Shiloh, you did at least like her a lot. Oh, Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. He didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you, drudgingly, made your way back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake as damp clothes weighed the group down. Your moms were outside, chatting with Cove's dad. We're back. Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked. Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half of the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Mary Gold, what gonna do when she comes to get Shiloh? Oh. Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holton, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, bucko. Oh, you've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moistened arm cast to push his dad off. Mr. Holton's eyes widened when he noticed even that it had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and just have as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what do you do? Come on. What can you do? Come on. Cove, let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. You wouldn't want that cast to have it be reset. Blah. Cove winced at the thought. "'Kay. That a boy." Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove off from the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but it didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassured pat on the back for his trouble. "Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff." "Night, Guts' family, and Shiloh too. Whoa. Well, we'd better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on now. Everyone inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom." "Yes, Mom." "Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That's too much. That would do too much good night." "What?" "Sitting on the old beach towel your mom had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go into your room or walk around the house. But you did get a sandwich to eat for dinner. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat for once. Lizzie, being more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath, as she had hoped. It was a no fun allowed clean-up session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer, and it would have been your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off into sleep sounded like a good idea. Yeah. Grown up. Fireflies? I don't know what that means. Alright, tonight we're gonna go. Wait, it's a different time. At this blunt, why am I blanking out? Declaration. Ugh. From your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on summer nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Balmy? What? Oh, you are, are you? What? You hadn't answered for sure yet, but if that's what Lizzie said you do, that's probably what you end up doing. Lizzie was an expert at getting her way, having mastered the art of it by the time she could talk. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we get Mrs. Guts? Oh, this is Shiloh. What? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lightened up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before his job started. But normally, she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh a little longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for the response. Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every night, every day. Whoa. Every night, every day. Your parents exchanged a look. Then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Aren't they both my moms? What? Why am I calling one mommy and another one mom? Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind your house with all the poppies. Ooh. Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only been planted in your mind, but already you could have just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read instead sometimes. Lizzie and Shiloh started digging through their food, and it soon became a race to see who could finish their dinner faster. Aren't you excited to go out and play? You gave a non-committal shrug. Gulch is just mad, 'cause I always catch the most. Lizzie boasted proudly, her mouth full of food, and Mom gave her a stern look. Elizabeth. But knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could, no doubt, scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try to get a glimpse of the unexpected guest. Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Why is Cove here? Is something wrong? He didn't give you any clear acknowledgement, his eyes firmly fixed on the ground in front of him. You shrugged, going back to shoveling a forkful of macaroni onto your mouth. Then, for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up to your mommy, with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off, 'cause I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket, eyes now dropped to the floor. He left ours back at home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye. Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged, and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know that you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him. I mean, we don't really like him, but we just invite him anyway. Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Are you going to catch fireflies with us? Are you going to go outside with us? I don't want to say anything. I don't really care. Is Cove coming with us to catch fireflies too? If he stays, I guess. Lizzie didn't exactly look thrilled by the idea. And you wondered why, if she felt threatened that someone might catch more bugs than her, or maybe she didn't like his company. I want to see them. I never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been any anywhere he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word response seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room. Cove, your dad said you could stay for a little while if you like. But he's going to get you before it gets too much later. Sure. Oh, fun. This will be nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be, too. What? But three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie, he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. You smiled lightly at Cove, gesturing for him to follow. After a moment, he did. Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door outside, shut behind you, watching your figures get farther and farther away. You're so slow. We don't have all night. You started to run while you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. What if I just ran off? Because I don't care. You needed a head start if you're going to catch more fireflies than Lizzie tonight. With your shoes slapping against the pavement behind you, you hurled to catch up with the others. If Cove wanted to join in with you all, he'd show up sooner or later. A grin broke across your face as you raced up the hill to join Lizzie and Shiloh, admiring the fireflies that bobbed around like boings. How do you pronounce that? Boings on a wave in the delicate moonlight. There was barely any wind, which had made it perfect for little lightning bugs to be out exploring the big, wide world. Where's Cove? He's coming. He pointed behind. Sure enough, after a second, Cove rounded the corner, still not any sort of rush. Wow. Cove took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Oh, wait, I see that Cove has been Shiloh. Hey guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are. Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. You shoot a bug away? Why did you come firefly catching then? You and Cove couldn't help but giggle. I keep saying Cove. It's Shiloh. Covering your mouth with a hand, a sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? You gestured at this head, and he reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped, then followed after the glow. Oh look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat and backpack along the way. You hummed at the group, divided and conquered, shifting your gaze into the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. I'll just pick that. I don't want to read all that. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragged one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outreached. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb. Careful not to crush it, the fireflies landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it with his pink cast waving awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Ooh-ah! Cove watched it vanish into the thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You did your own thing? You told him with the firefly you had. What? Cove, here's one. I should have a deeper voice. Cove, here's one. Do you want to look at it? Cove didn't notice you. He was first preoccupied by continuing the hunt, hopefully without his cast getting in the way at this time. This was fine. You had your own plans. You quietly took a seat among the flowers. The others were jumping and dashed all about. You saw how many times they succeeded and failed, how Shiloh almost tripped a couple of times. It was a dramatic show, though around you it was calm. The lights of the stars and fireflies surrounded you peacefully. It was a beautiful night. You laughed quietly to show yourself as you watched the others, and Shiloh finally managed to catch a firefly between his small hands. His eyes lit up, and then he spread his fingers to take a peek at it. The bug escaped and flew off into the air. Oh. You watched as he pounced after it once more. But your eyes soon landed on Cove, who had failed to catch a firefly yet. What's up? You can do it, Cove. Cove smiled at you for just a moment before returning to the firefly he had been trailing with renewed enthusiasm. While Cove returned to hunting fireflies, you settled for laying back against the soft grass, watching the poppies sway around you, and the fireflies hovering against the vast sky. Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, she knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye you saw Cove was coming as well. You didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought, he didn't care for Lizzie a lot. This is Cove, he doesn't really care. So you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi. Hi, Cove. Wait, was that Shiloh or. Jeez. Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way of tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and you see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it? I guess. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. What? You didn't feel much like racing. You told Lizzie the very same thing, and she wrinkled her nose at you. But the race was always better, with more people. Oh, Ezra. I want you to play too. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner, whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Bye. Bye. You turned and wandered back into the other side of the hill, deciding how to spend your time. Your plan was to stargaze, catch my butterfly. Probably whatever. Who cares? You laid back in the grass, watching the stars blinking in the sky almost as brightly as the fireflies that were closing your vision. The sky was so huge, you wondered what the names of all the stars up there were. One day, you would learn them all. You remember the time when you had once looked through a telescope in your friend's backyard. It was great being able to get a closer look at everything up there, and you had even caught a glimpse of Mars, although it mostly just looked like a red-colored star. You yawned loudly and let your eyes close. It had been a long day, and the grass beneath you was so comfortable and soft. You didn't know how long you laid there before you heard the sound of shuffling feet, and Lizzie's voice called out to you. Time to go home. Your head perked up at the sound of your name. Oh crap. Can I go back? Nope. Yeah. At the sound of your name, and you follow it over to Lizzie, sad that the night was almost over. It had gotten late, and it was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out the hills, but the cold in the air didn't dampen anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together side by side, down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's face, you did. Okay, I think, yeah, that's it for now. This is so much fun. See ya.